They claim you withheld funds belonging to your sister. I blinked. You mean the dollar I sent instead of $2,100? He didn't smile. We're just following up. They left after realizing there was no case, but the humiliation stuck. Imagine your neighbors watching cops leave your door like you're some kind of criminal, all because your parents couldn't stand being told no. That was the moment I realized something. This wasn't about money. It never was. It was about control. They needed me to feel small, useless, guilty. But that day flipped a switch in me I didn't know existed. I decided if they wanted a villain, I'd give them one. I quit being the obedient daughter who fixed everyone's mess. No more pretending we were the perfect Lamora family for their country club friends. Mom cared more about her social circle than her kids. And Dad, well, Dad was her puppet, always hiding behind his business trips. Emily was their golden ticket, the one who could do no wrong. I was the one who cleaned up behind them all. Not anymore. That night, I poured myself a glass of cheap wine and started writing. Every loan, every payment, every time I covered for Dad's debts or Mom's shopping sprees. I had receipts. Literal ones. I pulled out my old files, credit statements, screenshots, years of financial manipulation dressed up as family help. And the best part? Mom had bragged about writing everything off under my name. Tax fraud. I smiled. Guess I finally have leverage, I whispered to myself. The next week, I got a call from Emily. Why'd you block Mom? She asked. Her voice sugary but sharp. Because she forgot I exist. She said you're acting crazy, Ileana. You know she's planning a huge charity gala next month. Maybe you can apologize in person? I laughed so hard, I almost dropped my phone. Apologize? For what? Not wiring her a down payment for your new iPhone? Silence. Then Emily hissed. You're jealous. You've always been jealous. Of what? Being Mom's favorite puppet? Click. She hung up. I didn't call back. I didn't need to. Because that charity gala, that was the night I planned to burn everything down, in heels and a smile. But before I could even get there, something happened that changed the game. I got an email. From Dad. Subject line, let's talk. My heart stopped. I hadn't heard from him in months. He never reached out unless something was wrong. I opened it, expecting guilt-tripping or threats, but it wasn't that. It was worse. Ileana, there's something you should know. It's about the family accounts. I can't write it here. Meet me at the old cabin by the lake. 9 p.m. Thursday. Come alone. My stomach dropped. That cabin was our old summer place, the one they sold years ago. Why was he suddenly reaching out now? Why secretive? Why the lake? I debated ignoring it, but curiosity killed my self-control. I went. That night, the air was thick, the kind of stillness that makes you feel watched. The cabin was dark, half abandoned, creaking under its own memories. I knocked once. Nothing. Knocked again. Dad? No answer. I pushed the door open. The smell hit first. Cigarettes, whiskey, dust. Then I saw him, sitting in the corner, eyes bloodshot, hair disheveled, holding an old photo of our family. He looked up, startled. Ileana, you came. What's going on? I asked. Why all the secrecy? He rubbed his face. It's your mother. She's been using your name for more than just taxes. There's money in offshore accounts, properties, credit lines, all tied to you. If it goes down, you go down with her. My chest tightened. What? She's laundering money through your name, honey. Through your name. I tried to stop it. She threatened to ruin me. He handed me a flash drive. This has proof. You need to disappear before she realizes I told you. My pulse pounded in my ears. Disappear? Dad, what?
A sound outside, a car door slamming. His eyes widened. Too late. He shoved the flash drive into my hand. Go, now! Dad! Go, Ileana! I ran. Tires crunched on gravel as I ducked behind a tree, heart hammering. A black SUV pulled up. Mom stepped out, heels, diamonds, calm as a storm in pearls. She walked inside. I waited. Then I heard it. Shouting, then silence. I didn't stay to find out what happened. I drove until the city lights disappeared behind me. When I finally stopped, I was shaking so bad I could barely hold the flash drive. My life had just exploded, and the people who called themselves family had lit the match. And that was just the beginning. Because the next time I saw my mother, she wasn't wearing pearls. She was wearing handcuffs. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Mom's face in the headlights. Perfect makeup, perfect lies. I kept replaying Dad's words in my head. She's laundering money through your name. Like, what kind of psycho mother does that? I sat there on my couch, staring at the flash drive like it was a grenade. At 3 a.m., I grabbed my laptop, plugged it in, and prayed I wasn't about to blow my life up. Files popped open. Spreadsheets, documents, receipts, emails, all labeled under my name, Ileana Torres, LLC. That wasn't even a thing. They were property deeds, luxury transfers, consulting invoices from shell companies, millions of dollars. My name on every one. Oh my God, I whispered. She really did it. She'd made me her fall girl. If anything went down, I'd be the one behind bars, not her. I started scrolling through the files, my hands shaking so bad I had to steady them on the table. There were email chains between her and some guy named Marcus M. Crane. He handled offshore logistics. My stomach twisted. I remembered him. He used to come over for meetings after Dad's business trips. Always stayed late, always called her Viv, not Mrs. Torres. Damn, I muttered. You dirty, dirty witch. Then I saw a folder labeled Cabo_transfer, dated the same weekend as my graduation. Inside were photos, Mom, Marcus, Emily, all smiling on a yacht. Under the transaction note, 2.3M processed, phase 4 complete. My family had literally celebrated money laundering instead of my graduation. I laughed. It wasn't funny, but it was either that or cry. I took screenshots, backups, encrypted copies, everything. I wasn't going to be their scapegoat. I called Lacey. She picked up on the first ring. Girl, it's 3 a.m. You good? No, I said, voice cracking. My mom's been laundering money in my name. She went silent. You serious? I've got proof. Like FBI-level proof. Okay, first, don't freak out. Second, don't post anything. They'll destroy you. They already tried. Okay, she said, her voice flipping into problem solver mode. You need to protect yourself. Lawyer up, get off the grid, and whatever's on that drive, keep it safe. I can't afford a lawyer. Then we make noise. Go public. You think anyone would believe me over her? She's got the whole city wrapped around her diamond finger. Then we change the story. We play her game better. The next morning, I went to work like nothing happened. My office was one of those downtown startups with kombucha on tap and fake plants everywhere. No one knew my last name carried weight, and I liked it that way. I kept my head down, typed reports, smiled when I had to. But my mind was spinning. By noon, I'd made up my mind. I was done hiding. I left early, drove to the courthouse, and requested a meeting with the financial crimes unit. You sure about this? Lacey texted. She's gonna lose her mind. Good, I replied. The investigator was a woman named Agent Rivera. Sharp suit, sharper eyes. She listened without interrupting while I laid everything out. The files, the transfers, the threats. When I handed her the flash drive, she raised a brow. You realize this could put you at risk too, right? I already am. She nodded slowly. We'll look into it. You might need to testify. Do what you gotta do. I walked out of that courthouse feeling like I just detonated a bomb. And I had. That night, my phone blew up. Unknown numbers, private calls. Then a text from Mom. Ileana, we need to talk, now. I didn't reply. 10 minutes later, I heard it, pounding at my door. I looked through the peephole. Emily. Great. I opened the door just enough to see her face. She looked furious. What did you do? She hissed. What are you talking about? The FBI came to the house. They took her files, her computer, everything. Mom's freaking out, Dad's missing, and she said it's your fault. Your fault? I laughed bitterly. You mean because she used my name to clean her dirty money? Emily's eyes went wide. She said you misunderstood. She was just, oh my God, you're still drinking the Kool-Aid. You're ruining this family. No, I said quietly. She did that years ago. Emily shook her head like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. You're pathetic, Ileana. You've always wanted to hurt her. Nah, I said, leaning against the doorframe. I just finally stopped letting her hurt me. I shut the door in her face. My heart was pounding, but for the first time, I didn't feel scared. I felt free. A few hours later, I was scrolling through Twitter when I saw it. Breaking. Prominent socialite Vivian Torres under investigation for financial fraud and tax evasion. I stared at the headline. My hands were trembling. It was real. She was finally being exposed. The photo showed her in sunglasses trying to shield her face from reporters. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Then I saw something that made my blood run cold. Standing behind her was Marcus, smiling, like he was untouchable. The article mentioned a business partner cooperating with authorities. Cooperating. Meaning he'd flipped. Meaning Mom wasn't the only one going down and he'd probably sold her out to save himself. I didn't know whether to laugh or puke. That night, I couldn't shake the image of my dad. The way he'd looked in that cabin, desperate, scared. What if Mom had found out? What if he'd tried to stop her and paid the price? I called his phone, straight to voicemail. The next day, I went back to the cabin. It was taped off, yellow police tape flapping in the wind. My stomach dropped. A deputy sheriff stood guard. You can't be here, ma'am. Please, I said, voice shaking. That's my father's place. He frowned. Then I'm sorry for your loss. The world tilted. What? We found a man inside 2 days ago. No ID, still investigating. I couldn't breathe. No, I whispered. That can't be.
You'll need to contact the county coroner. He walked away, and I just stood there, staring at the cabin. My throat burned, my knees gave out. I sank into the dirt, sobbing. She killed him. She had to. I drove home on autopilot, hands shaking, tears blurring everything. I didn't even notice the black car following me until it was too late. I pulled into my building's garage. The car stopped too. Doors opened. 2 men in suits stepped out. Miss Torres? One asked. Who's asking? We're with Mr. Crane's security detail. He'd like to meet. I froze. Marcus Crane, the man behind it all. Tell him to go to hell. He insisted, the man said, stepping closer. It's about your mother. They weren't asking. I was being taken. They led me to a penthouse downtown, all glass, steel, and arrogance. Marcus stood by the window, sipping scotch like a villain out of a Netflix show. Ileana, he said, turning with a smile. You look just like her. Cut the crap, I snapped. What do you want? You made quite a mess, he said calmly. The feds have half her accounts, and, thanks to your little hero act, mine are frozen too. Boo freaking who? He smirked. You think you're safe? You're not. The feds think you're her partner. That flash drive? It's tied to your name. My chest tightened. You're lying. Am I? He slid a file across the table. My name. My signature. Documents I'd never seen. She forged them. Prove it. The FBI will. Maybe, he said, swirling his drink. Or maybe you go down with her. Either way, the empire burns and I stay clean. He leaned closer. You want justice? So do I. Help me take her down properly. Why would I ever trust you? Because I'm the only one who knows where the rest of the money is. I hated him, but he wasn't wrong. I needed that information. What's in it for you? I asked. Immunity, he said simply. You get revenge, I get freedom. I stared at him, trying to read the snake behind the smile. Finally, I said, fine, but if you screw me over, I'll burn everything you've ever touched. He chuckled. Spoken like your mother. I'm nothing like her, I snapped. He smiled faintly. We'll see. That night, I went home with a pit in my stomach. I didn't trust Marcus, but if he had what I needed, I'd play along, for now. I backed up every file, wrote everything down, and hid copies in 3 different places. If anything happened to me, someone would find the truth. Then I got another message. Unknown number. You think you know the truth, Ileana? You don't. Meet me tomorrow, noon, Midtown Cafe. Attached was a photo of the flash drive. My blood cold. Because whoever sent that message wasn't Marcus. And the person holding that flash drive wasn't supposed to be alive.
I walked into Midtown Cafe like I'd done 100 times before. Hoodie up, sunglasses on, pretending I was chill, but my gut was a wreck. The city smelled like diesel and cheap perfume. It was noon and loud with people who had places to be and no time for the kind of drama that had hijacked my life. I scanned the room, trying not to look like I was scanning the room, and spotted the figure in the corner booth, hunched over, beanie low, hands wrapped around a paper cup. For a second, I thought it was a dude doing a bad attempt at being incognito. Then he lifted his head. He smiled. My knees went jelly. Dad? I said before I even realized I'd said it out loud. He blinked, like it was the first time he'd heard his name in months. Hey, kiddo. His voice was raspy, but it was him. The look on my face must have been priceless because he laughed, a terrible half-sob, half-ha-ha laugh. You look like you saw a ghost. You died, I said flatly, because somehow that had to be said. They told us you were found, I added, and the words broke on me. He leaned back, as if settling into a confession. Technically, I was found, but not the way you think. He put a paper napkin on the table like he was about to do something big. Before you flip out, listen. I had to make sure. I folded my arms because how else do you sit across from the guy you buried when you're trying to decide whether to punch him or hug him? Make sure of what? He sucked air like he had been holding it for a decade. That Vivian couldn't keep burning us, that whoever was behind the accounts couldn't move the money 1 more inch. I had to disappear to keep you safe. You disappeared by dying? I said, and the sarcasm slipped in like a needle. I nearly got killed, he said, voice low. I told the county coroner not to release my info. I told a guy, my buddy, old army friend, to take care of the body they found if it was me. I gave him my watch, told him to leave my wallet. But the truth is, I didn't think I'd be able to stop her from using us, so I staged my exit from the picture. I laughed, but it came out ugly. You staged it. He nodded. I got scared, Illy. She was deep, deeper than I knew. Marcus Crane, he had leverage. He had ties. I should have seen it, but I was smoking the same pipe. I felt a weird looseness in my throat. You left me with her. I know, and I'm sorry. He looked like an old man, thinner, eyes hollowed out by months of worry. For a second, I wanted to collapse into him and tell him I was sorry too for everything I'd said. Then I remembered the flash drive, the emails, the yacht photos, Dad's panic in that cabin before whatever hell happened. I'd watched him shove the drive at me like it was a grenade. He'd said go. That go had been 2 steps away from death. He'd left me. How? I started, and he finished for me. I faked a call, left the car at the lake, gave my watch to a fisherman. My body was found 2 days later. I heard the radio about unidentified male found. I knew they'd think it was me. It was cleaner that way. Nobody looked twice. Cleaner? I said. You were dead in our eyes. He winced. I had to be dead to get under her radar. Or you just saved yourself and left us to rot. The words were harsh, but I'd earned the right to say them. He flinched like I'd slapped him. I know how that sounds, he said, and you have every right to be furious, but I'll spend the rest of my life trying to fix it. I sat in the booth and tried to remember the man who came to our house on Sunday mornings with a clean shirt and a stupid joke. The man who taught me how to ride a bike. The man who forgot our anniversary because he'd glued a model ship at midnight. That man felt like a relic. This man was something else. So what's with the message? I asked. The flash drive photo. The meet me. Who sent that? He rubbed his face like he'd just run a marathon. That was me. I had to know you were strong enough. I needed to see that you hadn't let them break you, so I sent it. You sent me a photo of the flash drive? Why not call? Because I called before. I left messages. You didn't pick up. You cut them all off. Because Mom was calling with her greedy voice. He put a hand up. I get it. I'm not making excuses. I made a choice. He looked at his watch like he was measuring seconds he'd lost. Listen, Ellie, Marcus flipped. He offered the FBI the keys if they'd give him immunity. He's been playing both sides. He told them about the offshore accounts. Some of them are in your name. But he also told them where the rest of the money moved. He said it's hidden in properties, trusts, shells, the usual bullshit. He mentioned a name, Vesper Holdings. You've probably never heard of it, but it's a big piece of her portfolio. You expect me to believe Marcus Crane turned into a choir boy? I asked. He shrugged. He turned because he got scared. The feds leaned. He cut a deal. That's how the world works. He also told them he feared for his life, that Vivian was getting reckless. That's when the coroner's office started poking. My head was spinning, but a tiny part of me, the part that stayed awake nights planning moves, lit up. So where's Vesper? I asked. Where does it hide? He leaned in. Cayman Shelf Companies. A condo in Miami under a shell. Houses in the Hamptons listed under nominee owners. I've got addresses. He handed me a small envelope. Inside were printed screenshots, codes, addresses, little breadcrumbs he'd been collecting while in hiding. How did you get all this? I said. I worked. I made deals with people who owed me favors. I sat at bars, talked to men who worked the docks. I paid for intel. I risked my neck to get you this. My fingers closed on the paper so hard it crumpled. Why tell me now? Why not hand it to the FBI? Because you don't want to drag this out with a man who thinks he can control it. You want to take names publicly. You want them to feel it. The feds are doing their thing, freezing accounts, subpoenaing, but if you go public, the fallout is theater. It pisses them off, it scares their friends, and they make mistakes. He was right in a way that made my skin crawl. Public humiliation was the language my mother's crowd lived by. They wanted quiet settlements, hush money, controlled narratives. If I stood up and screamed the truth, I could turn their world into a circus. I could make them sweat. I could make them lose the very thing they worshipped, image. So, what's the play? I asked, voice low. He smiled, a real smile now, the one that used to make my stomach flip. We go slow. We use the feds to freeze the accounts. We use what Marcus gave us to track the properties. Then you hit them where it hurts. The social circle, the charity boards, the donors, the country club members. We make them look dirty. Then we drop the receipts. Public, unignorable. I could see it like a movie cut. Mom's pearls under a spotlight, her voice strangled as reporters asked her about wire transfers, her name trending for more than her charity brunches. Mallory's wedding photos deleted in a blink. Emily's Instagram followers tanking. Bliss. But even as the fantasy lit up my brain, a part of me, the wary part, whispered, Marcus can't be trusted. Dad had said that too. And Marcus? I asked. You gonna trust a snake? We use him until he's useful, and then we burn him on the same pyre. He chuckled. You got fire, Illy. I like that. We plotted for hours in that cafe, like two conspirators in a true crime doc. He told me where to find fake LLCs, how to subpoena nominee owners, how to follow the paper trail without touching it. I wrote everything down. Lacey checked in with frantic texts. You good? Don't die. I texted back, alive, plotting. She sent 3 faced emojis. That night, I slept like a corpse. Planning is exhausting. Worry is a bad mattress. I woke to a voicemail from Agent Rivera. Miss Torres, we have new info. Can you come downtown? The way she said my name made my stomach flip. I rushed to the precinct, the drive like a dream. Agent Rivera met me in a hallway lined with glossy wanted posters. She didn't smile. How did you get all this? I said. I worked. I made deals with people who owed me favors. I sat at bars, talked to men who worked the docks. I paid for intel. I risked my neck to get you this. My fingers closed on the paper so hard it crumpled. Why tell me now? Why not hand it to the FBI? Because you don't want to drag this out with a man who thinks he can control it. You want to take names publicly. You want them to feel it. The feds are doing their thing, freezing accounts, subpoenaing, but if you go public, the fallout is theater. It pisses them off, it scares their friends, and they make mistakes. He was right in a way that made my skin crawl. Public humiliation was the language my mother's crowd lived by. They wanted quiet settlements, hush money, controlled narratives. If I stood up and screamed the truth, I could turn their world into a circus. I could make them sweat. I could make them lose the very thing they worshipped, image. So, what's the play? I asked, voice low. He smiled, a real smile now, the one that used to make my stomach flip. We go slow. We use the feds to freeze the accounts. We use what Marcus gave us to track the properties. Then you hit them where it hurts. The social circle, the charity boards, the donors, the country club members. We make them look dirty. Then we drop the receipts. Public, unignorable. I could see it like a movie cut. Mom's pearls under a spotlight, her voice strangled as reporters asked her about wire transfers, her name trending for more than her charity brunches. Mallory's wedding photos deleted in a blink. Emily's Instagram followers tanking. Bliss. But even as the fantasy lit up my brain, a part of me, the wary part, whispered, Marcus can't be trusted. Dad had said that too. And Marcus? I asked. You gonna trust a snake? We use him until he's useful, and then we burn him on the same pyre. He chuckled. You got fire, Illy. I like that. We plotted for hours in that cafe, like two conspirators in a true crime doc. He told me where to find fake LLCs, how to subpoena nominee owners, how to follow the paper trail without touching it. I wrote everything down. Lacey checked in with frantic texts. You good? Don't die. I texted back, alive, plotting. She sent 3 faced emojis. That night, I slept like a corpse. Planning is exhausting. Worry is a bad mattress. I woke to a voicemail from Agent Rivera. Miss Torres, we have new info. Can you come downtown? The way she said my name made my stomach flip. I rushed to the precinct, the drive like a dream. Agent Rivera met me in a hallway lined with glossy wanted posters. She didn't smile. We interviewed Marcus. He's cooperating. He wants immunity in exchange for information leading to full asset recovery. Good, I said, though my voice sounded like it came from someone else. We'll need everything. She slid a thick folder across the table. Inside, bank transfers, shell company names, wire confirmations. We also got a call overnight, she said. Someone found a ledger in a storage unit registered under Vesper Holdings. It lists transaction routes and a couple of key names. I felt my throat dry. Can I see it? She hesitated for half a second, then nodded. We went into a small interview room, she closed the door, and we pored over paper that made my mom smell like a criminal, because she was. There were names I'd seen in society pages, donors, board members, club presidents, people who'd smiled next to my mother at galas, people who'd accepted donated art from her foundation. Their bank accounts were suddenly vulnerable. "This is big," Agent Rivera said. "You realize if we go after all these people, it'll be a circus. That's the point." She studied me like she was weighing a verdict. "Miss Torres, you understand this will get messy. People will try to discredit you. They'll say you're doing this for revenge. They'll say you're unstable." I shrugged, and for the first time since this started, I felt a cold thrill. They'll say what they have to. The truth will say something else. Rivera sighed, then leaned forward. "We'll proceed carefully. We'll freeze accounts. We'll execute search warrants. But we'll need you to testify. Details you can corroborate, times, emails." "I'll do whatever it takes," I said, "including walking into the lion's den." She nodded. "Good." I thought I was done with fear. Not so. The week moved like a freight train. Search warrants, subpoenas, phone taps. My mom put on her immaculate face for the cameras, but the sparkle was off. She glided through interviews with practiced contempt, her pearls clinking like an alarm bell. At one gala, ironic, right? She laughed with the donors while reporters whispered. There was a moment, a single frame I'll never forget. She paused, a server passing by with a tray, and for half a second she looked at the crowd like a predator smells wind. It chilled me. Lacey posted a screenshot of a headline, "Socialite Vivian Torres under investigation." The comments were predictably brutal and petty. I watched as the social elite did a slow exodus. My mom's phone, the one that used to ring with RSVPs, started to buzz with icky whispers. People who'd once lined up to be seen with her began to text one-word messages. Sorry. Tough. Condolences. But even as the net closed in, the retaliation turned hot. A smear campaign started, and it wasn't subtle. Anonymous accounts popped up with edited photos of me and men I'd never met. Blogs wrote op-eds calling me a fame seeker. My boss called. They were worried about client perception. "Can you take a leave?" she asked gently. "Maybe lay low until this is settled." "No," I said. "I'm not disappearing." I fought to stay visible, to walk my path like I owned it. But that night, I got another message. A photo of my dad, sitting in a diner, eyes haunted. Under it, "Watch your back." The text was unsigned. I knew it was a warning. Someone wanted me to know I wasn't alone. But who? Marcus? Mom's people? The simplest answer seemed too obvious. Mom. The worst answer? Someone higher up. I slept with the lights on. The phone rang in the middle of the night, a blocked number. "Ileana," whispered a voice. "You think you're smart?" I didn't answer. The line clicked. Fear made a nest in my chest, but so did resolve. The next morning, I met Dad at a storage facility at the edge of the county. He had a duffel bag, the seams worn. Inside were documents, stamps, deeds, the kind of paperwork that makes a lawyer salivate. "Found more," he said. He had a little grin, like mischief. "Good," I said. "We need anything that ties them to the shell companies." He nodded. "There's a property in Montauk under a nominee. I want to take a look." We drove in silence, the radio low, just the crunch of tires on highway pebbles. He kept glancing at me like he was memorizing my face. We arrived at an unassuming storage locker. The manager, a man named Rafe, was quiet and professional. "We've had some odd requests," he said, looking at Dad. We opened the unit. Inside, stacked in neat boxes, were art pieces, sculptures, things that screamed expensive yet questionable provenance. The ledger Marcus had mentioned was in a box on top. Dad traced the spine with a finger like he was touching a relic. "This is it," he whispered. We opened it, and my breath stopped. Names, amounts, dates. A whole culture of hush money and bought influence spelled out in black ink. I snapped photos, heart thudding. "This is the nail," Dad said. "This is what we need to nail the coffin shut." He looked at me like we were allies. For a minute, I let myself feel that. Then, the air went cold. I heard a voice behind me, the manager on his radio, saying, "You got company." We heard tires. My stomach dropped. Someone had tipped them off. Because just when we thought we were cornering them, someone else made the move. And that move wasn't just a warning. It was a setup. The second I heard Rafe say, "You got company," my pulse spiked so hard I thought I'd black out. Dad froze mid-breath. We traded a look. His said run, mine said no time. Tires screeched outside the storage lot, and a black SUV rolled in. Tinted windows, no plates. It was the kind of vehicle you don't question. You just move. Dad slammed the ledger shut, shoved it in the duffel, and hissed, "Go." "I'm not leaving you," I snapped. "Illy, move." The tone in his voice hit something in me. That old command from when I was a kid, and he still sounded like safety. I grabbed the duffel and ducked behind the row of units as doors slammed outside. Voices. At least 3. Maybe 4. They moved with purpose, not the slow curiosity of cops, more like people who already knew what they were coming for. Dad crouched behind a stack of crates, his hand on the holster under his jacket. "Jesus," I whispered, "you're packing?" "You think I fake my death and go unarmed?" he muttered. The footsteps got closer, boots on concrete, clipped and heavy. I held my breath. The door to our unit creaked open. "Nothing," a man's voice said. "They were here. Then they're still close," another said, deeper, colder. I peeked through a slit in the crates and caught a flash of a jacket, dark, tactical cut, gun holster visible. These weren't randoms. "Feds?" I mouthed. Dad shook his head. "Private," he mouthed back. Private meant hired, which meant Mom. I clutched the duffel tighter. One of the men stepped closer to the boxes. His phone buzzed. He answered. "Yeah, we got movement." He turned, scanning. I ducked lower. Dad made a subtle motion, pointed to the exit on the side. We crept low, stepped silent. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like a drum solo in my throat. The moment we hit the side door, a voice barked, "Hey!" Dad shoved me through. We ran, out the back, past the dumpsters, through gravel that sprayed under our feet. A gunshot cracked. The air whistled near my shoulder. "Move!" Dad shouted. We hit the car, a beat-up Chevy he'd been using, and dove in. He peeled out so hard the tires screamed. I looked back. 2 men were running after us, one yelling into his phone. "They're calling backup," I said. "Yeah," Dad gritted, eyes fixed ahead. "We'll make them chase ghosts." We hit the main road, merged into traffic, and for a few minutes, the sound of city life drowned out the chaos. But I couldn't shake the image of those men. Clean-cut, methodical. Professionals. She sent them.
Vivian always finishes what she starts. Dad gave a bitter laugh. Your mom doesn't send men with guns. She sends lawyers in suits that shoot bank accounts, not bullets. You think Marcus did it? Maybe, or maybe both. They're all panicking. I slumped back. The city lights blurred by. Neon, rain streaks, reflections of a life that used to be normal. I used to care about brunch reservations. Now I was running from hitmen. Somewhere between fear and adrenaline, I felt something else bubbling. Anger. Pure, hot, electric anger. I'm done playing defense, I said. Dad looked at me, jaw tight. What do you mean? I mean, I'm done hiding. I want them scared. I want Mom to look over her shoulder for once. He smiled, half proud, half terrified. You sound like me before I made every mistake of my life. Maybe I'll make better ones. I pulled my phone from my pocket and texted Lacey. Need your laptop. 911, but not cops. She replied instantly. Say less. Where? The safe spot, I wrote. It was code for her loft downtown, the one nobody but us knew about. We parked a few blocks away and slipped through alleyways to her building.
Inside, her space was chaos and color. Plants, LED lights, the smell of incense and burnt popcorn. "You look like hell," she said when she saw me. "Thanks," I said, dropping the duffel. Dad gave a curt nod, scanning the room like he was back in recon mode. "Who's the dad-shaped man?" Lacey asked. "Long story. Technically, not dead." "Cool," she said, wide-eyed. "Okay, so what's the plan? Because whatever's in that bag looks like the kind of thing that ruins people." "Exactly," I said. We dumped the contents onto her dining table. Ledgers, fake property deeds, USB drives, photos. Dad started laying things out like he was briefing a team. He said, "We can't sit on this. If those men were after us, they know we have it. We need to move fast, get this to someone who can make it public before it disappears." "The FBI?" Lacey asked. "No, they'll bury it until it fits their timeline. We leak it." Lacey whistled. "That's bold. That's war," I said. For the next 3 hours, we worked like mad scientists, cross-checking shell company names, uploading encrypted copies, connecting dots between fake trusts and real names. Lacey's laptop hummed under the pressure. Dad wrote down passwords, whispered names of people who'd kill to keep these secrets buried. "You know this could backfire," Lacey said. "If you publish wrong data, then we correct it," I cut in. "But we hit first, before Mom spins it." She stared at me. "You're scary right now." "Good." Around 3 a.m., we had enough data to blow a crater through half of Manhattan's high society. Dad sat back, rubbing his temples. "It's done," he said. "We can push it." "Someone that won't sell it back to them." Lacey grinned. "I know a guy at the Ledger, real journalist, not the influencer type. Do it." She hit send on an encrypted email. Done. It was like lighting a fuse. For a moment, we all just sat there, silent, waiting for the explosion. The explosion came faster than I thought. By 9 a.m., the Ledger dropped the headline: "Socialite Vivian Torres linked to offshore laundering scheme." The internet went feral. News anchors with bleached smiles whispered words like investigation, fraud, cover-up. Twitter became a coliseum, and for once, the crowd was booing her. "You did it," Lacey said. "We did it," I corrected. Dad smiled, that tired kind of smile that lives between pride and regret. But peace didn't last. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. "You really think you can win like this?" The voice was female, icy. I froze. "Who is this?" "You know who," she said. "You think airing dirty laundry makes you clean? You're still my daughter." "Not anymore," I said, hanging up. My hands were shaking. "Was it her?" Dad asked. I nodded. "She sounds scared." He gave a short laugh. "Good. She should be." But deep down, I knew Vivian Torres didn't scare easy. Her type doesn't lose. They rewrite the story. By afternoon, every major outlet had the news. FBI confirmed an open investigation. My mother released a statement through her PR firm, all icy professionalism. "These are baseless allegations by a disgruntled family member with a history of emotional instability." I laughed so hard it hurt. She called me insane. "Classic move," Lacey said. "Discredit, deflect, deny." But then came the real hit. A second statement, this time from Marcus Crane's legal team. "Mr. Crane has fully cooperated with authorities and denies any wrongdoing." The man had flipped again. "Son of a..." Dad slammed his fist on the table. "He's selling us out." "Can he?" I asked. "He's already got immunity." "Doesn't mean he won't twist it." My phone buzzed again. Another message. A photo this time. Me, Lacey, Dad, taken through the loft window. Under it, "You started a war. Hope you can finish it." Lacey gasped. "They're watching us." Dad moved fast, killing the lights. "Grab your things. We're leaving." "Where?" I asked. "Somewhere cold. Somewhere quiet." We packed up and hit the stairs. Outside, the street looked normal. Delivery trucks, coffee smells, but every shadow felt alive. We got into the Chevy and drove north. Hours blurred. The city faded into woods. Snow started to fall, lazy and silent. We ended up at a cabin Dad said belonged to a friend. It looked like something out of a survivalist dream. Off-grid,
wood stove, satellite phone. "This'll do," he said. Lacey was pale. "I didn't sign up for run from assassins." "Technically you did. Bestie clause." She groaned. We settled in. Dad went to make a call on the sat phone, mumbling code words. I watched him through the window, a silhouette in the snow.
Something about it hit me weird. Familiar, but off. When he came back in, I asked, "Who were you calling?" "Old contact," he said too quickly. My gut twisted. "Dad?" "Illy, trust me, I'm doing what's best." "That's what you said last time you died." His jaw clenched. "You think I'm playing you?" "I think you're hiding something." He didn't answer. The silence stretched. Lacey looked between us. "Okay, tension's thick enough to cut with a butter knife. I'm making cocoa." She left for the kitchen. I stared at him. "Tell me the truth. Are you working with Marcus?" "No." "Then why'd he know about us, about the loft?" He hesitated a split second too long. I felt it, a crack in the truth. "Dad?" His eyes softened. "It's complicated." "No, it's betrayal." He slammed his fist on the table. "You don't understand what's at stake." "Then make me." He leaned forward, voice breaking. "They've got something on me, Illy. Before I disappeared, I took money. I thought I could flip it back, fix it, but it's gone. Marcus found out. He's been using me since the start." My breath caught. "So you're the leak?" "Not by choice," he said. "He threatened me. I had to keep him close." The room tilted. "You dragged me into this." "I tried to protect you." "By lying?" He looked wrecked. "By keeping you alive." Outside, the snow thickened. Lacey walked in, 2 mugs in hand, just in time for the sat phone to ring. Dad froze. "Don't," I said. "Let it ring." He stared at it, then picked it up. "Yeah?" A pause. Then his face drained of color. "How long?" Another pause. "Understood." He hung up. "We need to go, now." "What?" Lacey said. "They're coming." He grabbed the duffel and the ledger. I followed him to the door, heart hammering. Headlights flared outside. A car rolled up the snowy drive, another black SUV. My blood went cold. "Dad! Back door!" he shouted. We bolted through the kitchen, snow crunching under our boots as we tore into the woods. Behind us, engines roared, doors slammed, voices. Gunshots. "Keep moving!" he yelled. Lacey stumbled and I grabbed her arm, pulling her upright. We ducked behind a fallen tree, panting. I peeked through the branches. Men in black fanning out with flashlights. "We can't outrun them," I hissed. "We don't need to outrun them," Dad said. "We just need to disappear again." "You can. Not me." He turned to me, eyes wild. "Illy? You died twice. People stop believing you. I don't get that option." He gripped my shoulder. "If I say run, I won't." He gave a sad, crooked smile. "You're your mother's daughter, after all." The words stung more than they should have. A gunshot cracked nearby, snow exploding beside us. Lacey screamed. We ran again. The woods were a blur of dark and white and breathless panic. I didn't even realize we'd lost Dad until the silence hit. No footsteps, no voice. Just gone. "Dad?" I called. Nothing. Another gunshot echoed. I grabbed Lacey's hand. "We have to move." We reached a road, flagged a truck, begged for a ride to the nearest town. The driver didn't ask questions. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a message. I opened it, a single line. "You were never supposed to find him." Attached was a photo. Dad, kneeling, hands bound, snow around him turning dark. I couldn't breathe. Lacey looked over my shoulder, eyes wide. "Oh my God!" My vision tunneled. "They got him," I whispered. She squeezed my arm. "Illy." But I wasn't listening. The photo had coordinates in the corner. Whoever sent it wanted me to see, to follow, to walk straight into whatever trap they'd laid next. I looked up at the snow, the endless white road ahead, and made my choice. "We're going back," I said. Lacey shook her head. "Illy, that's suicide." "No, that's payback. Because if they thought killing my father twice would end this story, they clearly forgot who they raised." The truck driver dropped us off outside a 24-hour diner somewhere between nowhere and panic. Neon lights buzzed overhead, painting the snow pink. Lacey bopped her arms around herself, shivering. "You're out of your mind," she said. "You're seriously going back there? You saw that photo, Illy. He's done." "Not until I see the body," I said. My voice didn't sound like me anymore. It sounded cold, steel-edged. She stared, then sighed. "Then I'm coming." "No, you stay here. You think I'm gonna let you walk into a damn gunfight solo? Girl, please." That made me almost smile. "Fine. But if things go south, you run. Promise." She rolled her eyes. "Sure, like I ever listen." We borrowed the truck, bribed the driver with cash from the duffel. I loaded up everything we had: flash drive, ledger, burner phone, and Dad's old Glock. The coordinates from the photo led north, deep into the woods near a half-built estate, one of Mom's projects. Figures. Even her crimes had good architecture. The drive was silent, except for the crunch of tires over snow. My heartbeat felt louder than the engine. "You know," Lacey muttered, "you could just call the feds." "They'll show up after it's over," I said. "This is personal." When we got close, I killed the headlights. We crept through the trees, snow crunching under our boots. Ahead, floodlights glared against white drifts, black SUVs, men in coats, and in the middle, tied to a post like some mob cliché, Dad. Alive. Barely. His face bruised, lip bleeding. "Jesus," Lacey whispered. My throat locked. "They're not killing him yet," I said. "They're making him talk." We crawled closer, hiding behind an old snowplow. Two voices echoed across the clearing, one male, sharp and smug. "You think you can run from me forever, old man?" Marcus, the bastard himself. He stepped into the light, coat pristine, gloves spotless. "You should have stayed dead." Dad coughed blood. "Should have stayed loyal," he rasped. Marcus kicked him hard enough that I flinched. My nails dug into my palm. "We end this now." "You got a plan?" Lacey asked. "Yeah. Chaos." I pulled out the flash drive. "What's that gonna do? Hypnotize them?" "No, but it's bait." I loaded a file onto my phone, Dad's voice recordings, the ones where he talked about Marcus and Vivian laundering money. Then I uploaded them to every major press outlet's anonymous tip inbox. One click, 1 second, the files were gone. Viral fuel waiting to blow. "You just dropped a bomb," Lacey whispered. "Exactly." I chambered the Glock, breath fogging in the cold. "Now we light the fuse." I stood up and walked out of the shadows. "Hey, Marcus!" The entire group spun toward me.
Flashlights, guns, chaos. "Step away from him," I said. "Or what?" Marcus smirked. "You'll shoot me? You don't have it in you." "Try me." I leveled the gun. My hand didn't shake. "Let him go." "Sweetheart," he said, walking closer, voice dripping charm, "you don't understand how deep this runs. You think one little scandal will bury people like us? We built the dirt." I smiled. "Funny, dirt buries people too." He laughed, arrogant, confident, until his phone started buzzing. He frowned, pulled it out. Then another man's phone buzzed, then another, notifications lighting up their faces. I tilted my head. "Guessing your PR team's calling?" Marcus's expression changed. "What did you do?" "Just sent the world your greatest hits playlist, offshore accounts, shell companies, fake charities, starring you, my mother, and half your dirty friends. Enjoy the fame." He lunged forward, grabbed my arm, gun pressing to my ribs. "You stupid little—" A shot cracked through the night. Marcus froze. For a split second, his eyes widened. Then he dropped. Dad was still tied up, gun smoke curling from his shaking hand. "Told you not to touch my kid," he rasped. Everything went silent, except the wind. Then chaos exploded.
Men shouted, drew weapons. I dove behind the snowplow as bullets ripped through metal. "They're gonna kill us!" Lacey screamed. "Not if we kill the story first," I shouted back. I pulled the sat phone from my jacket and hit the emergency line I'd set earlier. "This is Eliana Torres. Coordinates incoming. Hostile activity tied to federal investigation. Marcus Crane, Vivian Torres. You want headlines? Come get them." The operator started asking questions, but I hung up. I turned to Lacey. "You're ready to go viral?" "Girl, I was born ready," she said, and pulled out her phone, filming. "Smile for the camera, bastards." Sirens wailed in the distance. The men panicked. One tried to drag Marcus's body, another shouted about deleting files. Too late. Red and blue lights started to flash through the trees. The cavalry had arrived. I sprinted to Dad, cutting his ties. "You good?" "Define good," he wheezed. "Alive's enough," I said. "Let's move." But before we could, headlights flared again. A sleek black sedan pulling up fast. The door opened. Out stepped my mother. Vivian Torres in a fur coat, diamond earrings, and eyes colder than the snow around her. "So this is how you repay me. By humiliating me?" I faced her. "By exposing you? Everything I did was to protect our family. You laundered millions. For us. For your future. You stole it from people who trusted you, and they'll still trust me tomorrow, because I'll survive this. You won't." She raised her hand. A gun shimmered in it. Lacey gasped. "Oh my God." "You're not going to shoot me, Mom," I said. "You're too worried about your image." "I can fix image," she hissed. "I can't fix betrayal." The click of her safety felt louder than the sirens. My brain screamed to move, but my feet rooted in place. Then a shot rang out, not hers. She froze. Looked down. Blood bloomed across her coat. Dad stood behind her, gun trembling. "You don't get to hurt her again," he said. Mom looked at him, eyes glassy with disbelief. "You always were weak." Then she fell. Snow caught her like it pitied her. For a second, nobody moved. Just sirens, flashing lights, and everything I'd ever known collapsing in one brutal, beautiful moment. Agents swarmed the scene, Rivera among them, shouting orders. Men cuffed, Marcus dead, Vivian gone. The feds bagged everything, evidence, files, the ledger. Rivera came to me, eyes soft. "It's over," she said. "You did good." I looked at the snow, at the bodies, at my father, alive, broken, crying. "Is it?" I whispered. Weeks passed in fragments after that. Headlines everywhere. The Torres Empire falls. Socialite scandal rocks Manhattan. Daughter blows whistle on family crimes. People called me brave, some called me crazy. The internet called me everything. But the accounts were frozen. The victims got their money back. Justice, ugly, messy, imperfect, landed. Dad turned himself in, confessed to his part, took a plea. Before he went away, he hugged me and said, "You saved us both, even if it doesn't feel like it." I visited him once a week. We talked about books, not blood. Lacey started a podcast called Born Into Lies that blew up. Every episode told a piece of our story. I let her own it. I didn't need fame. I just needed quiet. One night, months later, I sat on my apartment balcony watching the city lights flicker. The air smelled like rain and redemption. I scrolled through my messages. Hate, praise, confusion. Then one from an unknown number. She'd be proud, you know. No name. Just that. I stared at it, heart pounding, unsure if it was some sick troll or a ghost. I typed back, "She had her chance." No reply. I set the phone down and breathed. For the first time, no cameras, no chaos, just me. I thought about everything. Graduation day, the police calls, the lies, the buried bodies, and buried truth. And I realized something simple, something that hurt and healed at once. I'd spent my whole life trying to make my parents proud. Turns out, I just needed to make peace with myself. I raised a glass of cheap wine to the skyline. Here's to the mess, and to the girl who crawled out of it. Because sometimes justice doesn't come clean. It comes soaked in everything you survived.
We hit the road before dawn, silence sitting heavy between us. Snow swallowed the world, the kind of quiet that makes your own heartbeat sound guilty. I stared out the window, the coordinates burned into my brain like a brand. "You sure about this?" Lacey asked finally. "'Cause this feels like walking straight into hell." "Then I guess I'll knock first," I said. She didn't argue. She just reached over, turned up the radio, and let some sad country song fill the space we didn't have words for. Somewhere between fear and fury, I realized I wasn't going there to save him. I was going there to end it, one way or another.
If this story touched your heart or made you feel every twist of pain and justice, don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more powerful stories like this. Your support means everything and keeps these emotions alive on screen. And before you go, leave your valuable thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear how this